So this right here is the Sneaker X from Cooler Master. And if you thought that this was just a very unique one-off case mod, you would be wrong, because this is an actual pre-built computer that any one of you will be able to buy. So, if your lifelong dream was to own a computer that looks like a shoe, this video is for you. So let's check out how this Sneaker X from Cooler Master actually performs, and let's talk about a couple of things that you should know and that you should consider before grabbing a pair of these. Let's begin. The Sneaker X is technically an ITX case, but it has the footprint of a much larger ATX tower. So they weren't really going for efficiency, but they did make something that is very different from any other case we've ever seen. And just like with any other case design, it will be a matter of personal taste if you like it or not. But the fact is that they did put in a lot of effort and they did think about a lot of details on all sides to make this look complete and to create something that is truly special. In terms of build quality, I would call it decent. I mean, they obviously had to use a lot of plastic panels to make this design work, but it has a solid metal frame underneath, so it feels more than comfortable enough to pick it up using these unofficial handles. It is also not that heavy, so you could easily move it around and you can take it with you to LAN parties, for example. All panels can be removed completely if you ever wanted to do that. It will take a bit of time with a screwdriver, but I imagine that some people would like to customize the case even more with either their own personal brand or color scheme, which will be easily doable if you remove all the panels first. All the connections are nicely hidden at the back behind this panel. The power cord goes into the base of the shoe, and all the cables from the back I/O are nicely led through a single gap just above that. Just keep in mind that if you want to change any cables, you will have to remove the back panel again using these two screws on the side, which isn't too bad if you only have to do it every once in a while, but they also kind of forgot to add any kind of USB ports to the case. So if you just quickly want to plug in a USB stick, or for example an SD card reader so you can quickly check your work and back it up, it will be impossible to do that without removing that back panel. And that starts becoming a real pain if you have to do it regularly. So I would really recommend getting a nice USB hub of some kind to get around this problem. And to be honest, it just feels like a huge oversight because the case alone has plenty of handy little spots where some USB ports would fit perfectly. So it seems like no one actually tried using this shoe on a daily basis before they started selling them. The case itself is only bundled with an 850 watt SFX power supply and a custom version of their 360mm Flux all-in-one water cooling, which is mounted at the bottom and then pulls air through the shoe. But Cooler Master said that they will only start selling these shoes as complete systems and not just as a case with a power supply and a cooler like they did with the NR200P Max. Now, I think that ties in with Cooler Master launching their own CMOD X website, where they will kind of focus on selling a complete high-end experience rather than just individual components. And keep in mind, they're also not going to sell these complete PCs directly, but they're going to link you to a local system integrator that will take this base case and a power supply and a cooler and then build their own version of the shoe. That also means that different regions will get different configurations because Cooler Master will partner with different brands in each region. So, here in the Netherlands, for example, they're actually partnered with Gigabyte and they are partnered with Kingston. And this final build is made and sold by gamecomputers.nl. So this is a Dutch shop, but they do ship throughout the EU. So I will put their link in the description down below if you're interested in their work. But let's see what they put together here. This system is based around a Gigabyte RTX 4070 Ti Eagle GPU. Now, Cooler Master didn't really share the exact compatibility specs just yet, but you don't really have a lot of space left around this mid-sized graphics card. So I would say that it could be a few millimeters longer, but a proper 3-slot thick card will not fit into this shoe. On the other side is an Intel Core i7-13700KF CPU, a Gigabyte B760i Aorus Pro motherboard, 32 GB of Kingston Fury Beast DDR5 6000 memory, and a 1 TB Kingston Fury Renegade SSD. At launch, which will be in the next few days, you will be able to swap the memory and the SSD, but the other specs will be fixed for the time being, at least. So this giant shoe has very decent mid-range specs, but I do have to complain a bit. First of all, a K or a KF CPU should be paired with a Z series motherboard, and it is not in this case. And a 1TB SSD is not really enough for an expensive gaming PC, and it is expensive, so I would definitely upgrade the SSD right away. They did a very good job at building the PC and the cable management because very few cables are visible from most angles, only around the inside of the shoe where the power supply is. So you can see a few, but the other side and the top look very clean, especially with that GPU riser cable covering everything. So I think the overall look of the complete build is actually not bad at all. When it comes to gaming performance, I would say it does well. CPU temperature of around 70 degrees is more than fine, with both the motherboard, VRAM and SSD temps looking reasonable as well. The GPU has its cores and memory at around 73 to 74 degrees while running at 262 watts, and it is not even that loud, so for a gaming rig, it works really well. In a CPU-only benchmark, however, the CPU started getting pretty warm. The GPU side has an extra fan that is pointed at the GPU, but the CPU side does not. And since the i7-13700KF was drawing around 225 watts, I do think it's actually close to its limits in terms of cooling. The VRAMs also got pretty hot, averaging at 98 degrees, so that side would actually benefit from the fan more than the GPU side, because right now, that side doesn't really have much in terms of airflow. I mean, it's theoretically within thermal limits, but I wouldn't want to see an i9 version of this that can easily pull 250 to 300 watts. Cooler Master did say that AMD versions should be available later this year, and I think that those will make more sense because they do draw a lot less power. Since this is an open case design, idle noise is something to consider, especially if you prefer a quiet build. Now, this will also really depend on your exact configuration, and it will also depend on how each of the system integrators will set the fan profile. An open case also means that it can collect a lot of dust, but it will be easy to clean it as well. And I very strongly recommend getting one of those CompuClean blowers for around $50 or €50 on Amazon that will just solve your dust problems in a matter of seconds. And I do recommend you get it whether you have a closed case or an open one. It is just a very handy thing to have. But what will this sneaker cost you? Well, pricing will vary from place to place, obviously, but Game Computers has told us that this particular configuration will sell for €3,500. And looking at their regular custom gaming PCs, that puts the Sneaker X at about €1,000 more than a typical PC build with similar specs would cost you. And on one hand, that is a lot of money. But I also don't think €1,000 or dollars is even that extreme, considering how much time must have gone into this case design, and considering how many of these they will make and how many of these they actually expect to sell. I mean, a case like this is not for everyone, but there are a lot of people out there that spend more on actual sneakers than some of us do on hardware. So there is definitely a target group out there that is ready to pay that price premium. And realistically, I also expect that a lot of these systems will be used for some kind of marketing, for example. So from that business perspective, it's not really that extreme either. But you're definitely paying a big premium on top of the price premium that system integrators will charge anyway. And because a 4070 Ti isn't the most high-end GPU, you're also then in a situation where you could easily build a much faster system for a lot less money. So there are definitely a lot of things to consider before going this way. The lack of USB ports is something that Cooler Master can and that they should fix pretty quickly. I mean, for that price, they should at least think of including a USB hub with the case that will make the user experience much better in that regard. And then you need to think about CPU thermals, especially if you live in a region where the ambient temperature is on the high side. It will be fine for gaming, but if you want to do a lot of CPU heavy work, I would go for an AMD version, which should be available in a couple of weeks. And last but definitely not the least, you're paying that high-end price premium while getting mid-range specs. But If you don't mind any of that and you really think that this is the PC for you, it is actually very well built, it is not hard to work with, it is very easy to clean it, and it will definitely turn some heads. Now personally, I would really like to see Cooler Master make the case, power supply, and cooler combo available through regular retail channels, because I know that they can do it, they're just not doing it yet. So if you want that as well, I would definitely poke them on social media and maybe they will change their mind. Who knows? But for now, it is only sold as a complete PC. If you're in the EU, gamecomputers.nl is already selling these, so if you want to check it out, I will leave a link in the description down below. Cooler Master will also be adding the Sneaker X to their global CMOD X website later this month, and you will be able to find a system integrator in your region that will put together and send you this PC as well. So that is all I have for today, but before I go, let's check out the sponsor of this video. This video is brought to you by Seasonic and their brand new Vertex power supplies. These fully modular power supplies are extremely efficient and very quiet due to their fan design and their hybrid fan mode that stops the fans completely under 40% load. They come with a variety of connections for any kind of systems you have in mind, including the new 12-volt high-power cable for the latest RTX graphics cards, and as a little bonus, you get a cozy 10-year-long warranty. Check them out using the links in the description below. Thank you all for watching this strange review. If you liked it and you want to see more videos like this one, do consider clicking that subscribe button, because that way you won't miss any of my future uploads. Bye guys, and I will see you in the next one.